What is the Messiah syndrome? Well, as we go through this, you're going to have a very, very good understanding of it. Let me ask you to begin with. Are you a nurse, a doctor, a pastor? Are you a person in your family that the rest of the family depend on? Are you someone in a particular field where there are those you care about, you love, and you're the center of their life? Well, you are susceptible to the Messiah syndrome. During the course of this brief message, we're going to have a look at transactional analysis. We're going to have a look at codependency. We're going to have a look at what actually occurs in the Messiah syndrome. Before we move on much further, let me also say what happened to the actual Messiah. And we know who that was, Jesus Christ. You know what they did to him? They crucified him. If you are suffering from the Messiah syndrome, then you are at risk. You see, the Messiah syndrome, put briefly and very briefly, is where you become the center of people's lives where they cannot function for themselves without you. Feels good to be people's Messiah, doesn't it? Feels really good. You feel important, you feel validated, and yet the issues are enormous. What we have to learn those of us who have others that depend on us, and we all do to some degree, we have to learn the difference between an adult relationship, a parent relationship, and a child relationship. A book was written in 1956 called it was called The Games People Play, but the subject was transactional analysis. It is where there are 3 levels of relationship. Well, there are more, but this is what the book broke it up into. It was very revealing. Some people have a relationship with grown adults. One is the parent, the other is the child. One is the teacher, for example, the other is the student. A mature relationship is where you have 2 adults. They all work, don't they? The parent-child relationship, it works, sure. And when the child spits the dummy, who has to solve the problem? The parent. The teacher-student relationship works, except the student will have challenges functioning for themselves. They are constantly learning, constantly listening, and it all seems good until that student arrives at a situation where they cannot think for themselves. It's the same problem for the child. And we're talking about grown adults here. There really is, in universities and schools, teachers and students. Well, that's quite normal. But when you have a married couple or a church or a company, whatever it might be, a social organization, where you have grown adults functioning out of function, and you have one person that is the parent or one person that is the teacher, and everybody else revolves around them, you got yourself a candidate for the Messiah syndrome. You see, codependency is not what people think it is. Codependency is where one person solves all the issues for the other person. The problem with codependency is not so much the person that is dependent, it is the person that keeps them dependent. That is the person that is codependent. And like I said in the beginning, the people susceptible to this are pastors, teachers, nurses, people in any social organization that run that organization. Now, am I speaking against pastors, teachers, leaders? No, not at all. However, the role of a leader is not to keep people in their fist in order to make them feel good. And of course, there's the problem. Because if anybody suffering the Messiah syndrome feels great, I mean, people need me. It's a sense of feeling needed. And it's a problem within that leader that they have to address, because they'll keep people down. They will put a ceiling on other people's lives, take them so far, and they don't even know they're doing it. If you're suffering from the Messiah syndrome, I am not blaming you. I am not attacking you. I am not getting stuck into you, but I'm hoping to reveal to you that your job as a leader of any kind, as a parent, as a teacher, as a pastor, as a doctor, is to empower others, not to keep them down. You might say, I don't keep people down. I just try to solve all of their problems for them. Well, let me tell you, the moment you cannot solve their problem is the moment you will be attacked. You may have already found that, right? The moment you cannot satisfy the needs of the group of people around about you is the moment you get voted out. Suddenly, and that's why I hearken back to the real Messiah, they crucified him. One day they're crying out, Hosanna. The next moment, here they are crucifying him. Why? Because in their opinion, he no longer agreed with their ideas. And so, out he went. How many people that suffer the Messiah syndrome get hurt? And I'll go through some symptoms with you, and I want to go through some ways to get over this and through this. Some symptoms are tiredness, a constant sense of tiredness. It's like you're always on alert. Have you ever noticed that? Are you that person? Or do you know somebody that's like that? They're constantly on alert. The phone rings, they've got to solve it, they've got to solve it, got to solve it, right? And they will become caught up. They're normally people with a big heart, right? They're normally good people. And I'm not blaming them, and if it's you, I'm not blaming you. Tiredness is a symptom. Unhealthy thinking. A sense of always being alone. You know, you can't relate to other adults because you got a bunch of students or a bunch of children around you that are already adults, but they don't behave that way. And a great sense of loneliness. There's just a few symptoms. I want to say this to you. You will have heard it before. You can't do it all. You cannot do it all. You can't change what you can't control. In the event you have people dependent on you, well, God bless you. God bless you for the work you do. However, if you have people dependent on you, your role is not to keep them there. Your role is to bring them to a place of maturity where they can operate and function on their own. How do you do that? Well, you start off by having an agreement. You make an agreement with that person that you will help them. But you want to see them mature to a place where they can help themselves. And so you will take, well, old adage, baby steps. Don't solve the whole problem for them. Allow them to be involved. There's an old saying, tell me I may forget, show me I may remember, involve me, and I will understand. You want people to understand, right? The problem with the Messiah syndrome is people grow used to being needed. The fear is they won't need you anymore. But your value is not based or placed in how many people need you. There's the issue. To ask yourself, if you are suffering the Messiah syndrome or you know somebody else that's suffering that, to ask them, what do you value about you? You see, this person, pastor, doctor, nurse, professional person, or just a member of the family that's like the patriarch of the family. They're the leader, right? You got to ask them, how do you value yourself? What do you do for you? Not just what you do for you, but how do you see your value? Very often it is, well, I help people. I know you help people. That shouldn't be how you value yourself. You should value yourself in something way more than that. It's interesting, I heard an interview once with Michael Jackson, and of course we're all aware of his life. He made this statement, the only time he felt comfortable was when he was on stage. I thought how sad that is. The only time, of course his gifting, he was brilliant, all of that. However, that was the only time he felt like himself. You see, we need to have healthy thinking in order to produce healthy thinking in other people. If we have unhealthy thinking, then we are producing unhealthy thinking in others. Transactional analysis, you've got the adult, you've got the parent or the teacher, and you've got the student or the child, right? They all work to a point. However, what you want to help people do, and you want to release them to do, and empower them to achieve, is to have an adult-to-adult relationship. It happens in marriages a lot. You know, one is the parent, one is the child. Happens a lot. Now, I'm not talking it down because it works. It's just that as soon as the child doesn't get what they want, they spit the dummy. And the parent's got to go running around solving all the problems. You don't want to be that person. You want to have an adult to adult. Am I saying don't help people? No. You want to help people, don't you? You want to help, but how do you want to help them? Do you want to help them with today's problem, or do you want to help them grow to manage their own? What was that saying? Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. That's the sort of leader or important person in the group of people you're in that you want to be. You don't want to be tired all the time, do you? You don't want to have unhealthy thinking, do you? You don't want to feel that sense of loneliness, do you? No wonder you're lonely, because you're surrounded by students and children. You want to help develop adult relationships with others. The Messiah syndrome is dangerous. I know of some leaders where it has even become fatal, where no longer do they see, their own value. They don't see the value in themselves at all. They just see their value in what they can do for others. And what a blessed thing to do to help others, to be important to the lives of other people. I think it's a wonderful thing. But your message is to help others become able, empowered to help themselves. Now, I may do another one on this. This is a brief understanding, but you're probably going to get the point. The Messiah syndrome is dangerous. The only true Messiah that ever lived, they crucified him. You don't want to be crucified. You may have suffered great hurt. That's also another symptom, that you're constantly hurt by the people you love the most. You may very well find you're behaving as a Messiah to those people out of love. And whilever you do it all for them, whilever you're their Messiah, they'll be more than happy for you to carry on that way, because they don't know how any other way to behave. All right, so you can't change what you can't control. Come to an agreement and discuss ways that this person is going to be able to manage themselves. Discuss it with them. Treat them as an adult. Don't pick up the pieces constantly for them. Still help them, but help them to arrive where you know you can have an adult-to-adult relationship. God bless.